Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Poet Speaks podcast, the #1 spoken word podcast in the world. All right, please like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. So our next guest is a Samoan poet from Long Beach, California. He has 3 self-published books. He was also a radio personality on the network Hotwordz Lyrical Theatre. He has mentored the youth in the inner cities of Los Angeles County, being a part of the CSUDH Poetry Club, F.L.O.W, Flow for the love of writing. He was president, also competed in slam poetry. He is now a newlywed with his wife, Jen, living in Pasadena, California. Please welcome to the podcast, Usolosopher. Usolosopher, how are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blissful. It's just amazing to be on here. I haven't been doing much in like the new year 2022. I've just been like watching poets like online, and I miss being at the open mics in person. It's hard with the whole pandemic thing, but
Yeah.
I'm blessed and honored to be here on the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a rough year. I think rough years, not years, multiple years for poets out here for like the living and breathing in this pandemic has definitely taken things to a whole new level. So I want to get started with, tell us where you're at. You're a California native. I myself am also a California native. So I appreciate anyone from California doing the spoken word bit, doing the poetry bits. So please tell us, Long Beach, born and raised?
Yes, I was born in Long Beach there, Long Beach Community Hospital in 1986, June 13th. So I'm a Gemini. Even my wife, she's a Gemini, June 15, 1985. So.
Hey, that's wow. Okay, so tell us a little bit about growing up out there, and did you discover poetry out there for yourself? Tell us what that looked like for you.
Growing up, I didn't know any Samoan poets at the time. So like I just read like works from like Maya Angelou, Edgar Allan Poe, Langston Hughes, Nikki Giovanni, and so forth. So that's who I got into. And I just like try to look for like Samoan poets, but they're like all in New Zealand. There wasn't a lot of them in America. So that's like one of the driving factors of why I published the works I did. I just wanted to be like that flame in the community that light. So, when I'm gone from this earth, someone else could pick it up and do their own thing with it. So yes.
Absolutely. So for you, being Samoan, is Long Beach, what's that like out there? Is it a big Samoan population?
Yeah, it would. They came around the 60s and 70s. They went to cities like in Long Beach, Carson, the South Bay area. Even in the Bay Area, there's a lot of Samoans and like South Pacific Islanders, like Tongans, Fijians. There are a lot of them in California, even down like in Oceanside, San Diego area.
Wow, very cool. I'm curious then. It's like you said, not a lot of Samoan folks are poets, at least that I know of. Just from what I know a lot of, when growing up in Cali, I remember, did you ever face any type of stereotype? Like, I think for some Samoan people, there's a stereotype, go play football if you're a
Oh
Samoan boy,
yeah.
all that stuff. How did that kind
Yes.
of matriculate into your life a little bit? Did you go that route at one point, or were you kind of just like, nah, not my thing?
I did go that route like around like high school. I was playing basketball, football, but like the grades weren't as good. I hung out with the wrong people, quote unquote, hung around the thugs, what they call, the kids that's like wasn't going to class, ditching class. And
Mm.
that's who I hung around at the time. And like, yeah, when I'm doing poetry up there, even to this day, it's like, damn, it's big some more, like 6'4", 300 pounds, come on the mic.
Yeah.
It's like so elegant. They thinking, man, I'm just like a big teddy bear, man. A lot of us are, a lot of Samoans are like that unless they get provoked somehow. But yeah.
So for you, what was the spark in poetry then? What made you find that spoken word to now? Obviously, you published all these books. What was kind of that spark? Because like you said, you were originally kind of just doing football, sports. So what sparked that poetry for you to really be like, this is my passion, I want to leave this on this earth?
It just happened when I didn't graduate from high school. I ended up having to go to Long Beach Adult School. My grandma from Samoa, that
Mm.
she's no longer here, but she came at that time to come visit. I felt like a failure. My parents were giving me like the quiet treatment. I was like down, and I had to figure out what can I do because I couldn't do football anymore. I tried to do it at like the community college level, and it kind of ended there. So I had to look for another avenue, and I was like, yeah, I've been reading poetry. I've been writing these journals. So I was like, hey, why not? So that's what sparked me, was just like being in the dumps at the time. And I was like, I had to lift myself up. And that's when I got back to the pen and pad. And I watched like Def Poetry Jam at the time, with like on HBO. And that just ignited the flames for me to get back to poetry. And here I am.
Absolutely. No, HBO Def Poetry Jam. I remember that. It did come out before me, but I do remember just always watching that, and I was just, oh man, I don't think they have poetry slams like that anymore. I have to go search the world for that. They don't have people really burning out
Yeah.
on their soul like that. I mean, woo, that was a time, no, for sure. So I'm curious for you, what to write your poetry, because listening to your work, you're very, like you said, you're a 6'4" Samoan man. You come on stage and like you described it, you talk so like elegant poetry. What for you, what I watched one of your videos. It was about fatherhood. I believe it was called To My Father. It was on YouTube. It was such a very thought-provoking poem about just parenting, fatherhood, your father, all those things, that theme. For you, where, and obviously, your poetry collections, where does the inspiration for your writing come from? Where do you draw that inspiration from?
Times I look within, or I can go to like a garden somewhere and just meditate, and there just come to me or just flow like the waterfalls. And it's just stuff that I went through, like, childhood trauma. That's where I write. It's just a multitude of various places where it can come from. Like, I can watch someone like in the street, like injustice, police brutality, things like that too. I could just write about it, and just try to inspire somebody. At the end of the day, that's why I write.
Mm.
It's for me to heal, but it's also for others to heal as well, to inspire them.
For sure. So like I've been to LA a couple times. I grew up in Sacramento, but obviously I've traveled to LA a lot of different times.
She grew up in a sack town.
Yeah, Sacktown. Stand
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Exactly. We're the capital. Y'all are not. Y'all, LA is not the capital, just for LA is not the capital. Sacramento is the capital of California. But
Yeah.
I've been to LA a couple times. I feel like the community in LA, it's definitely anyone that's a native LA person, the community is very strong, I feel. LA recognizes LA. For you, what's it been like, being a spoken word artist in LA, Long Beach, in that community? What does that kind of look like? Is it like a lot of open mics happening? Is it a lot of strong support for poetry out there? Tell us what that looks like out in Los Angeles County.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while, like almost 10 years, before this whole pandemic happened. I was always out there. I used to do like 4 shows a week, when I was really just putting my name out there. I wanted to get known in the poetry community.
Mhm.
So I used to go to like various shows in Long Beach, downtown LA. I used to go even to like Pomona, Palmdale. Like, I was everywhere. And my old little 2004 Nissan, I'll be going everywhere in my little bucket, just trying to get known, and
Yeah.
just hungry just to meet more people and to network as well, to get to know more artists and more poets and things like that. It's very strong out here. It depends on who you meet. Like, I met so many people out here. There's a place called a Poetry Lounge too. It's in like Fairfax. They've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it for a long time. I used to go there. I drove out there on like Tuesday nights. You had to go there early just to get on the first round. So,
Yeah.
so I remember those days. So that's when I met like a lot of people. I met my friend like Paradise Lane.
Mm.
He's no longer here, but he was like a big fan of my poetry. I did my book signing at RCLA
Mm.
for my second book, Poetic Soul Pieces. That's where I did my book signing there. It's
Yeah.
just wonderful how many people I met through poetry.
Absolutely, meeting people from all walks of life. So let's get into this. Is a very kind of interesting name, Usolosopher. Like what? Tell me, what does that name? Where does it come from? What does that name mean to you in terms of why you've given yourself that stage name for poetry, Usolosopher?
Oh, Uso means like a family or like a brother or sister in Samoan.
Mm,
So that's what I put in that. I was a philosopher or philosophy major, and I'm always a deep thinker. I've always gone into like philosophies of like various cultures, whether it be the yin and the yang of Confucius or, Kemetic spirituality, where they talked about the 42 laws of Ma'at and how your heart's got to be light as a feather, things like that. I've always been a person to ask questions, to look beyond the surface. So
mm.
that's the gist of how I got the name Usolosopher.
So I'm curious, how many people get that name, mispronounce it when they call you to the stage? How many people mispronounce it?
Oh, it's like all the time, but I have to like tell them how to pronounce it.
Word.
But yeah, I got used to it. Just
Yeah.
even my real name, people mispronounce it like Moly. People call it Molly or Molly Mo. Yeah, so
How do you pronounce?
it's
How do you pronounce your real name? How do you pronounce it? Molly? No,
Molly Mo.
Molimo. Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. But he goes by Usolosopher. So, like you said, it's it has the Samoan roots. So I'm curious too. You are Samoan. That is so obvious in your work, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. That's so obvious in your work. You really stand proud in your Samoan identity, and that's a heavy, heavy part of your work. Tell us, what oral traditions and indigenous traditions do you speak on through your writing from your Samoan background?
I'll just speak about life, being a Samoan, growing up in the Long Beach, Cali area.
Mm,
I always try to learn more about the culture where, they were navigators of the oceans. They were building their own boats and things like that. That's what those Captain Cook discovered, like in those Hawaiian islands. He never seen boats like that before. They were like, wow, these people created like boats to sail like to different islands and things like that. No one's seen them before. These Europeans came there and just like were just like in awe and thought of it as like majestic. So they wrote it down in their journals and things like that. And
yeah.
yeah, I just do my best to be, this proud Samoan, and just I love how like I met different people from all different walks of life. And I just wanted to leave my legacy there, not just with poetry, but just treating people the way they want to be treated. Like I treat people out of love, like a divine love. And I make sure I support them like as best as I can,
Mm,
whether I get something back or not.
nice, nice. So, referring back to your work now, your debut book of poetry, its title was Diary of a Mad Uso. It's a very powerful title. Those that don't know, I mean, that is that harkening back to the Tyler Perry movie Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah, that's where I got it from. And it's also I thought of myself like a mad scientist, like I'm up in my, down the basement writing poems and things like that. And just I wanted to try to make myself out there like as big of a debut as possible in the poetry community. And it
Absolutely.
was pretty amazing. Like people bought the books when they first came out. I was going to different open mics. I did it old school, sell it out the trunk, and I had like
Mm,
copies of them, and I just like I'll do poems from there, and then I'll just sell it after the show, whether I was a featured poet or not. I met people after the show like, hey man, I want to get your book, and they'll talk about how my poems inspired them and how they loved my poetry and so forth. It's an amazing feeling.
absolutely. So tell us, what is the obviously that name, you want to be like that mad scientist somewhere, and just really make that splash with your debut. Tell us, what did that book mean to you, and what year did that come out, and just what did that book mean to you, being your debut collection, just with kind of starting off with that bang, Diary of a Mad Uso, and what does that book encapsulate? What did you have in that collection of poetry?
Oh, it's like various poems. I wrote the one about my father, my mother. I wrote one about my brother and those who are locked up in the penitentiary.
Mm,
I wrote one about me being the president. if I was a president, being with my wife and knowing that my wife is Black African American and how we will come together and like envision that. And I wrote about like the time of Trump where Trump was about to be president. I think I released that in like 2016 around that time. So it was, I was young too. So like a lot of the poems, looking back on it wasn't as polished, but I was hungry to get on stage, to get known. It's just to have myself be out there in the poetry community. So yeah, it's kind of raw, like the poems on there, and just looking back at the book, it's not as polished as my my other two books. So but yeah, it was great when it came out. I kept like, I wanted that to be the stamp, just as a debut book. I felt it was pretty good. There were things of course, I could work on. Looking back at the book, there's things I could have worked on that, but I was just proud of myself when I released it. I was like, wow, I did it. Self-published it through Amazon, and just to have people wanting to buy it really touched me deeply inside.
Absolutely. I always say, like, if it's your first like EP, it's your first book, you may as well just make the poetry that you like, because hey, you know what? People buy, people don't. It's your first time. Oh well. You always room to improve.
Yeah.
You may as well make the stuff that you like, right? So that's
Right.
that's a pretty cool process. I'm always curious for debut books, and people that publish themselves. So for you, you just went straight to Amazon, no publisher. It was kind of just solo. You printed everything yourself, every single copy too.
Yeah, it was through a website called Create Space. Now they changed into Kindle Direct Publishing. I did it myself because I tried to publish it through companies and I always got rejected. At the time I was like, damn, what is wrong? Like, why people don't like it? That's how I found out. I just Googled it, and that's when I was like, let me just do this myself, because I've been trying to publish myself through like companies for years, like almost like over 5-10 years. I've been trying to push it, like sending it to various local publishing companies, and I just got denied a lot. So that's when I was like, let me just do it myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that's just the best option, is just try, and just do it yourself eventually, just self-publish. That's fantastic. So I'm curious, now we have your second book, Usolosophy, Poetic Soul Pieces. Tell us about that. That's a very powerful name, Poetic Soul Pieces, Usolosophy.
Well, that book, my second book, was like the book I just wanted to put everything out there. I wanted to write poems that touch the people's soul and spirit. And I just feel like I'm a soul brother from the South Pacific Islands, and I wanted people to know about that. And just that book was kind of like my phase where, I wanted people to know about the injustice and like throughout the world, even in the South Pacific, where they ended up killing Captain Cook on the Valentine's Day because they didn't want him to invade the Hawaiian Islands. And even in New Zealand, they had this thing called the Dawn Raids, where they raided the South Pacific communities late in the night, early morning, getting them out of their homes and things like that. And that's when they had the Polynesian Panthers. So that was the spirit I was in. I was in a spirit where I wanted to be a revolutionary, to help people know about the injustices in our community, because it's not very known in the educational system. So that's when I wrote about some of that in my book. Usolosophy, Poetic Soul Pieces. It was just like more of what I thought about, just the mind of the philosophy where we can uplift each other. I wanted to
Facts, yeah.
just to unite us, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I see that kind of a trend in your work. It's definitely work serving the people. So I obviously read in your bio, you said you mentored the youth in the inner city of Los Angeles. Tell us what does that kind of work, mentoring youth in inner city LA, what does that work truly mean for you to be able to do?
Oh, it's just I did it because like I really wanted to touch the kids, because that's where it starts. I wanted our communities to break away from the, that prison complex where they go to school and they end up in jail. So I was talking to various students like in Inglewood, Long Beach, Hawthorne, because a lot of these kids didn't have like someone positive to look up to. And I wanted to let them know that their life matters and that they can do more than just athletics. So like I brought my books there. I just gave them away for free. I didn't even sell it. So I just like I gave it to some of the students. I signed it for them, and I performed a couple poems up there in front of the class. And I could feel like how they were hungry to see somebody from the communities that they grew up in, to see
Yeah.
somebody that, that could understand where they're coming from. And they really like, it gave me their undivided attention. I could feel it when I was up there, in front of the classroom. Like they really took the time to like just listen to me. They weren't even on their phones or anything. They really gave me their like eye contact and everything. And it really touched me, like going to these schools like in Watts and,
Yeah.
like, because people look at them like, oh, they're not gonna go anywhere. There's gonna be in gangs. But a lot of those kids were like real kind-hearted. They just wanted to be heard. And I was faithful just to be there, just to witness some of the things they told me about, like their parents being locked up, their brothers being locked up. It's hard, and
Yeah.
just to be there for that time being, just to touch someone and just to let them know, yeah, you could make it too, and just, yeah, it's just, I was so touched just to go to these schools and mentor them, just because it's hard out there. I mean, about it being a sack town, it's the same thing. A lot
Yeah.
of crime, gangs. I was just thankful just to be a positive person for these, for the youth.
Absolutely. That's such a amazing, beautiful work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about so you've done slam poetry. I'm always curious, which one do you prefer, slam poetry, or do you prefer kind of just free flow, open mic writing and just performing spoken word? Which one would you say is more suited towards Usolosopher?
I just like the open mic, honestly. Slam poetry's fun too. I just rather just like be a community voice. But I love the slam poetry aspect too. The people go out there and compete. Some people are great at that.
Yeah.
I went up there, I competed the best that I could. We came in second place. We lost to USC, but it was fun experience. It's my first time competing, this thing called slam poetry. And I was like, wow, like we could have won, we should have won, I felt, honestly, because I felt like our team had we were more versatile in our poetry. Like we talked about different topics. The USC poets were just talking about the same thing, but that was out of our control. I guess, the judges voted for them. And,
Yeah.
I just felt like, yeah, okay. But like, I love open mic poetry because I could just go out there and just speak my mind. There's no judges. They're not handing out scorecards,
Facts.
things
Yeah.
like that. You just speak your mind and speak from the heart. And you
Absolutely.
get to hear other people too.
Absolutely. I think what I like about slam is definitely fun, and it brings out this competitive side of poetry that people don't
Yeah.
necessarily see. But yeah, I feel like nothing can really compare to like the open mic, just free flowing spoken word, just saying what's on your mind. No inhibitions, no rules. You kind of just go, 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 go. So I feel you
Yeah.
on that one for sure. So as I mean, this is such a great conversation so far. I mean, you telling us all about your career thus far and just being able to where your inspiration comes from. So I'm always curious for poets, what do you think people can take away from spoken word?
I think people could take away that spoken words and everything, not even just poetry, it's in rap. That's why it's called rhythm and poetry, rap,
Mm-hmm,
or even like the lyrics in the R&B songs. That's poetic, You
mm-hmm.
have someone there pouring their soul into someone they love, and or it could be like a heartbreak song. They've been in a
Yeah,
relationship for how long, and it's like now they're heartbroken and trying to pick up the pieces and just run with it. Or because I know I've been in that experience before, like when with my ex-fiance, you know, we was like almost 5 years going in, and it was depressing. I was writing these sad poems and
Mm,
just going on open mics, being depressed and just like being this sad guy. You know, I was in the dumps at that time, and and
yeah,
just poetry just helped me get through, and just people in the poetry community really supported me. They would talk with me and tell me things that I should do, and I appreciate that. And I want to help. That really helped me, getting through that adversity. I always feel like adversity is there to make you stronger. So
absolutely. It's interesting that you say that. I feel like poetry definitely does have that effect. It's like I don't know how to put it, but it's like sometimes I think a lot of people don't realize how much like writing can really make a difference. Even like you had said before, there's spoken word in everything. And I completely agree. A teacher is a poet, right? When they're teaching in front of their
yeah,
classroom, a lawyer in a courtroom is a poet as they're professing their case or defending their case. So many of
yeah,
us don't even realize that oral tradition is around us no matter where you go. Just in simple conversation, you're always professing something with your words. So I completely agree. It's everywhere that we go, is poetry. Everywhere we go is the spoken word. We all have voices that want to be heard. So I'm curious for you, how often do you write? Do you find yourself writing a lot? Do you find yourself writing in just, like you said, you were going through very emotional states, right? And you found yourself hungry for writing. What is your writing schedule like?
it's like usually my best poems I write like it's in the 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning.
Ooh,
I'm up. Yeah, like I'll wake up like just to go use the restroom, and then like a poem pops in my mind, so I just write it down because I don't want to lose it.
yeah.
So that's how it is. And
Wow.
I've been trying to get back to writing more because I haven't been writing much. Like
Mm.
I published all these books, and like I just wrote like a new poem. Like I put it on my Instagram. I just wrote it down called like Soul Contract, where I talk about me and God talking, the divine creator we're talking about before I'm even born. Like, okay, which body you want to go in? What
Oh,
life you want to live. So he'll they'll they'll talk with me about, okay, is this the life you want to live? No matter what you choose, it's always gonna be adversity, but I'll be there for you. So like
wow.
that's basically what that poem's about. I choose a body to hop in. I'm just a flowing energy of light, just looking to find a physical body to enter and things like that.
That sounds pretty cool. Whoa, I love that. I love that idea. Talking to God, signing a contract. Yeah, so check out Usolosopher's Instagram and check out that poem. That's very cool. Um, so I'm curious then, you know what, in addition to that, right? How do you write? Are you a pencil paper type or are you a more notes, iPhone, iPad, whatever may have you? Do you find yourself writing by pencil paper or electronic means? I know you said Instagram, but sometimes I know some people pull out the notepad.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to the notepad, but I've been doing the electronic way. But I've
Yeah,
been trying to write like in the pen, the paper, because they say when you write with the pen and paper, it goes inside your mind. It
yeah,
goes into your mind more like a memory thing, and it's like a human function, so it helps you a lot too. Writing it with hand. And
yeah. Writing with
so that's
writing with hand is yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. It's definitely more of it gets shaped in your memory more. But I think just that phone is so convenient. I
yeah,
mean,
it is. That's all I've been doing.
it's
Like
so
when
convenient.
it is because I've been in writing workshops with a poet named Anita D. So like
Mm,
she used to do this 30 for 30, and like I was in it for the last like couple years. That's where a lot of my poems, come from. I put in my books. It's from like the 30 for 30, where she'll give us like different topics and then we'll write about it in our poems and stuff.
that's what's up.
It really helps too because like you have other poets in the community like helping you, like, hey, you should have did this and that. That's what I love about
Mm,
this poem. They help you like critique your poems to where you can better yourself, enhance your craft. So it's good
absolutely.
to be.
So you definitely recommend workshops. Like you said, you're part of a workshop, 30 for 30. You definitely recommend workshops no matter what stage in a poet's career they are.
Yeah, it's good to be around different poets because you get to hear their poetry, and then
Mhm.
you can hear what people think of your poetry and how you can enhance it. So yeah, it's really helpful, to be around that type of energy, around different poets. It's really helped me with my poetry and just life itself too. We're like human beings. We're meant to be around different human beings too. We're
Absolutely.
meant to gather and things like that. Even like back in the day, people gathered.
Yeah,
That's what we're meant to be.
absolutely. Gathering for that poetry. I'm curious. Before we ask the last Poet Speaks podcast question, what is your favorite poem that you've ever written?
Man, there's a lot of poems I love. I don't know which one is my favorite.
Mm.
This one I wrote about like my appetite. I wrote about how like I used to like go eat and get like an L&L's chicken katsu plate, and write about like my appetite, like getting a 40, drinking it down and things like that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like, that's like one of my favorite pieces because I wrote that, and just like as you go through that poem, I change it up where I talk about like politics and
Mm,
appetite for music, music that has substance, things like that.
that's
I go from food and I change it up from there.
yeah, double entendre type poem. Oh, that's what's up. Okay, for sure, for sure. So as we are wrapping up this conversation, been so great. This is the time old again and again question that we always ask on the Poet Speaks podcast. Why do you need to get your words out?
I feel that I need to get my words out because I want it to manifest into something greater, like greater than myself, bigger than myself. And it's kind of like those seeds, you want to plant your seeds, and our words are like those seeds that you have to plant or put them in the soil and let it grow,
Mm,
because you don't want to live a life of like, oh man, I should have did this, I should have said that, or you don't want to live a life of regret. You want to put it all out there while you're here on this earth. So
thanks.
that's how I feel about like my voice.
Whoo, Usolosopher. Oh my goodness. That is a great way to end. I love that answer. Planting seeds for the future is why you need to get your words out. I love that. I love that. So tell us, what is 2022 looking like for you and beyond your writing? And tell us where we can check out all your amazing work, buy a book, all that good stuff, please.
Oh, 2022, I've been working on like a fourth book. It's gonna be like poems, but it's gonna be like short stories too. Like
Mm,
it's gonna be short stories on various topics or various scenarios. Because I'm trying to do more than just poetry. I've been trying to work on doing voiceovers and
nice.
do things like that. And I'm also helping others publish their books too. Just like this Tongan artist named Boss Lady Wit, and she
Mm,
wants to get her book out there, so I'm gonna help her like edit her book and things like that. And that's what I've been doing for 2022. Also, I've been hitting the gym a lot too, so I want to keep myself as healthy as possible because if my physical body's not healthy, I won't be able to do more poetry. So
for
that's what
sure,
I've
for
been
sure.
doing, that and meditation as well.
That's what's up. So tell us, where can we find your work, website, Instagram, all that good stuff, please.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Usolosopher, Usolosopher. You follow me on Instagram. Even I have a website. It's on usolosopher.org. You can check me out on there. Even on YouTube, you type in Usolosopher. I have performances on there of like poems I did. And if you guys want to get my books, it's all on Amazon. All my three books: Diary of a Mad Uso, Usolosophy Poetic Soul Pieces, and Uso Poetic, the one I just published December 3rd, 2020. That one's out too. I can also show you guys the book covers if
Yeah, yeah,
I have
please
the
do.
books. I have the books with me. I might have to take down this background. See if I
Yeah.
can take out this background so you guys can see the books and
The
stuff.
philosopher has a Mario Nintendo
Yeah, it's the
8-bit
Sonic the
background.
Hedgehog. I grew up on Sega.
Oh, my bad. Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's all good. It's similar. I know my parents are like, hey, it's Nintendo. Everything's Nintendo. But yeah, this is my third book on ooo-so poetic, ooo-so folk poems. It's available on Amazon. But I'm working on ordering my own copies. You know, This is my second book, Usolosopher, Poetic Soul Pieces. And then this is my debut book, The Diary of Mad Uso.
Yes.
It's my first book. They're all great books. You know, if you're into poetry and you want to check out more spoken word, guys should check it out and order those. You guys could also message me on Instagram if you guys want copies. I'm looking forward to ordering more copies. And is it cool if I do like a freestyle poem before we leave?
Hey, let's do it. Everyone, please listen as Usolosopher is about to do a freestyle poem on the podcast. All right, go ahead, Uso. Okay. Thank you.
Spoken word, it's everywhere. Everywhere we go, we speak. We speak to the trees, to the seeds, to the water in the streams. This is our time, 2022. They say our voices are powerful because it is. It breathes life, life through words in the books. On the mic where we speak to enlighten those who wonder what spoken word is. Spoken word is in your favorite song. It's everywhere we go. We speak it in the classrooms. We speak it in the marches for justice and so forth. Even Malcolm X spoke spoken word. Martin Luther King, Maya Angelou, they all spoke in a spoken word to uplift our people, knowing that we are more than just skin color, that we come from the soul that enters this world of enlightenment, that we're not just about the hood or the ghetto, for that we're like Tupac, that rose that grew from the concrete. We are meant to shine. We are meant to grow. We are meant to evolve and to gather as we gather through spoken word. Thank you.
Woo! Usolosopher. That is a perfect way for us to end as we gather through the spoken word. My goodness. Thank you so much, Usolosopher, for being on the podcast today. Thank you for blessing us with that amazing spoken word piece. Thank you for blessing us with this amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, I just thank you, Amanda. Thank you for having me on here. It's been a wonderful ride. I just love our conversation. It felt like I've known you for years, and that's what I always felt, because people ask me, "You're like an old soul. I've been around like a billion of years." I was like, "Yeah." Nah, I appreciate you for having me on here. It was a wonderful journey.
Absolutely. No, poets recognize poets. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We have a new friend in poetry. Everyone, please go check out Usolosopher's debut book, his second book, his third book. All the links to his socials, as well as all his books, will be down in the YouTube comment section of this video below. So thank you so much, Usolosopher. Everyone, please like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast with your friends, share it with your friends' friends. Everyone, this is the Poet Speaks podcast. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.